All right, this is our first interview on the Red Fast review here with Bear. We have our first guest. His name is Ben Nissim, a esports analyst, let's say, if that's the correct terminology. Ben, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but also is very invested in the PGA video game series, plays it relatively frequently from my understanding, and has a good insight from a casual viewer, from a competitive viewer, where maybe if we can maybe ask him about what the steps are to maybe get PGA to a esports level. But first, Ben, want to give you the floor to you, maybe give you let you introduce yourself, give a little background.
Yeah, thanks. So right now I'm a content creator and I do a lot of Call of Duty related stuff. So like my background was I started in esports mostly around sort of Call of Duty and sort of the Black Ops 2 era. So this is like way before the pandemic, probably like 2016 or 17. I got super involved, just sort of watching on like Twitch and MLG.TV. I was sort of doing like IT related jobs at the time. And then I got really involved in esports. Actually, my first crack was with the guys over at FaZe Clan. I was super close to their
Mm.
Call of Duty team. Got involved with them, got involved managing the team. I ended up actually, at the end of my tenure with FaZe Clan, I was managing Fortnite, Call of Duty, and FIFA. So I was doing a lot of different esports at the time. And I left that gig to go work at a company called Esports Engine. So people who are esports fans are familiar with MLG, sort of the early days of esports. That's the same group. They obviously got bought by Activision, then they left and made their own company. So I was doing a bunch of stuff for about 2.5 years for them. I was doing mostly business development work, so working on, bringing in new clients, then executing that business. So it was a little bit of sort of business development and sort of project and program management, a little bit of account management as well. So I was working a lot of Call of Duty stuff, a lot of FIFA stuff for them, but a bunch of other various games as well. But in the short time, like I love PGA 2K. Uh, Probably of no surprise, like a lot of people got into golf around the pandemic and in the Call of Duty community, it like got pretty big. So I played a lot of 2K with like some of the sort of bigger gamers in the Call of Duty space. Obviously you guys have probably seen like what Nate Shot's done. He's a big Call of Duty guy, but a lot of like players and coaches and agents and other people also like enjoy to play the game. So we grind a lot when the game came out, and some people obviously still play it, but it's picking up now, obviously with the announcement of the new game. But yeah, that's my background. I'm excited to chat about it. I'm really excited for the new game. And personally, for me, like 2K21 was like one of the best sports games I've ever played, best golf game for sure. And super excited for some of the new stuff that's been announced in the last couple of days and to dive in with y'all.
So awesome. One of the first questions I had is like, so a lot of people out there don't even really know about PGA Tour 2K21. I feel like it was like the poor marketing, or maybe it was just because it wasn't Tiger on the cover and it just like fell off like golf video games when Tiger was removed back almost 10 years ago. Like even Rory did terrible sales wise. And I personally was always invested in like the golf video games, but I didn't even know Golf Club 1 and 2 existed. And I barely found out about TGC 2019. And, you know, I noticed one of the things those games had, and this one really didn't, but I saw you playing, was the online matchmaking. Do you feel like that is like one of the biggest things that 2K21 is like kind of missed thus far?
Yeah, I mean, to your earlier point, like I was the same way. Like I think I found out about the Golf Club One like on the Xbox Store or something like that,
Mm.
or like from like a Major Nelson tweet. Like it wasn't, obviously these games don't have the size of like a Call of Duty marketing budget where they're running ads during NFL games and they have
Nope.
massive billboards in Times Square. Um, but yeah, I think like to me the part that really hooks like the community that I'm in is a lot of the social aspect, right? A lot of
Mhm.
the people I play with are streamers and entertainers. And they're looking for new stuff to do on stream, and so it's a really like fun, casual play 18 holes, play 9 holes on matchmaking is sort of a real good hook. Obviously, people like to grind career, and I think we'll get into sort of why I think that'll be important again this year. But yeah, I think the social aspects of this game is super important, and something that gets me going. Right, like I'll stream sometimes, and yeah, I like playing societies. I don't normally play them on stream,
Mm.
but it's super easy for my chat. If I'm just like instead of just chatting and having like a full screen cam up, I love just like having PGA open. I'm just grinding through a round and like doing it with my chat. Or right before we are doing this, I was playing a four group who are playing the Cougar Point Kiwa course on the game, and like that's always fun to me. Just pulling up with three friends and getting 18 in.
Yeah. I feel like kind of relating to that online, like, and maybe this is tying into like Call of Duty, and I've personally played like just about all the Call of Duties myself, but I find myself, and I don't know if you do as kind of an analyst, and I don't know how much you've played, but I find myself in the menus looking deep diving into the stats, like what is my KD ratio with a particular gun, or like all these different metrics and everything like that. And I feel like that's also a huge thing that could be incorporated into the matchmaking, like who leads the month in aces or something like that, like some cool little challenges, and stuff, different rewards like that could really drive the competition, and get interest, rather than right now it's just, okay, yeah, you fire up an alt shot, and what's the incentive for you to do well? Like, are you even climbing a leaderboard, or it's
Yep.
just all so casual, and there's very little competitive drive.
Yeah, I mean, I play a lot of golf IRL, and like I use the Arcos sensors. And one of the nice thing about the Arcos sensors in the app and the subscription is like it tracks your shots, shots gained. So it really gives you something to focus on, like what are you doing well, where are you struggling. I agree with you. Like you don't really have that much targeted training in any of these games. You can pull up like your player stats, see how many aces you've had, and what's your green and regs and stuff like that. But it doesn't really like help you on like where am I losing strokes, right? Relative to playing societies and other people and losing strokes on the field. I agree. I think that would be really helpful for the competitive player. I think it'd be super helpful for societies, right? Because we're looking at the new game, and it seems like progression is going to be super important. Attributes can be super important and completing that stuff. Like tying into sort of the path you have there, like understanding where your game's at and where you need to work on will help you obviously make adjustments to your character, but also know like from a decision making standpoint, like where am I getting myself in trouble when I need to improve my position on the course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So going from the old game, because we did a little bit of a minor dive. I won't say we went deep, but we did look up the TGC profile. So we saw you made it to elite, and then kind of dropped off. So what was it at that point that kind of pulled you away from that competitive edge?
It was probably the patch. So it was a combo of two things. One is I was starting to travel a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to get my PC. So obviously I'm traveling. Like I didn't have a
Yeah.
gaming PC. I had a MacBook Air, so I'm screwed at
Yeah.
that point from playing.
Exactly.
But also after the patch, my problem is I'd get on and play like warm up societies, and guys are shooting like 55, and I don't get on there and try and like take 2 hours to play around. Like I get on because I have time and I'm gonna play like a 20 minute, and it's just like I don't want to sit there and play every hole and be like I need to make birdie on
Mm-hmm.
60 of the 18 holes on this
Mm-hmm.
course. It's just not fun to me. I want to get on and like think, but not like blow my brain up.
Yeah.
And that was my frustration with TGC is like you go now and look on the leaderboards and how low the scores are compared to where it was like a year or two ago. I definitely think sort of the changes have sort of affected sort of my like ability to have fun out of that. So that's why I stopped playing it. My friend Ray as well. He got to I think like in the top 40s in rankings, but he felt the same way, right? Like the patch came through and he was playing plat and like guys were shooting high 50s and he felt like he had to get on
Some of
and
those
go
guys
16
are
under.
insane. Some of those
Yeah,
guys are
exactly.
They're
insane
they're
when
they're
they
nuts. And
just
then
dialed
I see
in.
their plays and like they really take their time playing, which is fair to them.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, if you were like legit playing around and you play that slow, you might get in trouble with the rules officials and tell you to speed up a little bit. But like
Mm-hmm.
for me, like I get on and I probably play my 18 holes in like 20-25 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so like if I'm gonna play that way, it's gonna be really hard for me to shoot mid 50s. I'd have to like be super on.
And especially at
So
that top level when they
yeah,
decide they're just gonna set up those courses to
yeah.
really shoot well, it would be a feather in the cap to someone that could do that.
I think that accessibility is important because, like, at that level in TGC, like, those guys are playing practice rounds for all the setups. They're trying to figure out what club they're going to hit in on like every hole, and they go in and you've got like a pretty thorough game plan. Like, I'm not going out there like a PGA Pro is where I'm playing practice rounds. I don't have the time to do that. Um, so fair play to those guys, but I think for me, like the sort of competitive, but like I guess a little casual sort of fun I had of it just got kind of sucked out by the patch, the changes to the short game that I was working through.
Mm-hmm.
And then I haven't gone back since then to play TGC. But I think with the new game when it comes out, I'll probably give it a spin again. Just because I'll have a couple of weeks before COD comes out. And honestly, once COD comes out, I'm sure at some
Yeah,
point after the
game
game,
over.
I'll lose full for a couple hours, lose
Yeah.
push for a couple hours, be like, let me get on PGA, the new PGA game, and play a little bit in between progressing on that game. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
that was sort of that's sort of why I stopped at the TGC's level a while back.
So
I'm
I guess
go ahead.
sorry, Kill, you want to go?
No,
I got
it
kind of
was
one
kind of to
that's
that
gonna.
point, but
Yeah.
go ahead. Go ahead, Bear.
So we probably got the same mindset, but we'll see. So going from that competitive to the casual, what does the new game need to keep the casual player around? You're nodding your head, Kilbride. Is that where you were going with it?
Kind of, but I also had another point, but
Oh,
go
okay,
ahead.
fine.
I'll answer that question first. I think it's two things. One is, so actually, it might be three things. One is, I think with the character progression, making sure it's not a massive time sink. Like, obviously, it seems like
Mhm.
from some of the videos I've watched today from folks that went over to the playtest at Eastlake that, like, it's not like a 2K pay to win scenario where you can just pay and you could skip and then get sort of the end game of the progression. Like, you're going to have to play and get to a certain level where you're probably like in those societies in TGCs, be competitive enough with your character to be able to shoot low. So hopefully that ramp up isn't a significant time sink because then what? Listen, the game's coming out end of October. Like people's attention spans are really short. Like a lot of games are going to come out around Thanksgiving. Like you got to get in while the game's good. And then once you get to the end game, I think one is, continuing to figure out what are the best matchmaking hoppers. I remember early on when the game first released back in 21, like they were definitely tinkering a lot with what was the best version of those hoppers. Then they found a good balance. I like that they have now. You've obviously got quick search. I don't play that much. If I play 1v1s, and then I'll play like the 2v2 mode, but I don't really like alt shot. I think alt shot's like sometimes you get on, you get a random person or just spraying around course, not fun. I enjoy the scrambles or four balls. For me, actually, what I would like to see from matchmaking is being able to like restrict certain courses. I don't know about y'all.
Sure.
Whenever I play matchmaking, I really like playing the custom courses. I get kind of sick. The TBC courses they have in the game right now, a lot of them are some of the TBC South courses. They're all like very similar in terms of how they play, right? Some elevation, but it's mostly wide open fairways. Not a lot of punishing tee shots. I like some of the custom courses that have come through, like some of Canucks courses have been on there. Some of the other guys, I think BA 101's had a couple of stuff on there. Like I really like the variety getting the custom courses and those hoppers. So being able to play those over some of the other courses you get sick of, it's cool. And I think the biggest thing is crossplay. I think would be a huge add to the game. And it seems like we're not going to get it, but that would be like massive for matchmaking. I think for societies that would be a huge fall
Yeah.
through. Like
Societies
imagine,
would be
imagine massive entities like Barstool and probably the additional resources they would pump in if they could do crossplay. That's limited right now because they have to run it's an Xbox Society, PlayStation Society, and Nintendo Society, PC Society, etc. So I know obviously there's a lot of technical hurdles with that, but I think going for further releases of the game, and I'm curious to see from the EA side if their game has that functionality. Like the market will really want that crossplay. It's a huge opener we've seen in other games, being able to be basically platform agnostic and you can play with your friends regardless. So
Yeah, I think that this iteration of the game is a combination of let's get Tiger on it, let's take a bunch of steps in the right direction, really get people market it, make people know and aware that it exists because so many people don't even know it exists right now. Get some really solid feedback from casual players because right now the only people that play it are real grinders at this point or like true golf enthusiasts. And while we have our own opinions, it's like we need that general population opinion. You mentioned the online matchmaking and playing, what types of game modes. Bear, I might speak for both of us here. Bear and I have played over 1,000 hours each
Yeah,
in PGA.
easy.
I would say less than 1 hour total I've spent in online matchmaking, and that's an issue. You know what I mean? Because it's, in my opinion, it's so poor. There's no incentive other than that casual feel.
yeah,
Luckily, we're in a good community where we have those good societies and like things that we can do. So the society mode is fantastic. The different courses you can play, TGC tours, it gives you something to play every day. But the online matchmaking for just like your random person, like, hey, I want to go online. I don't want to talk to anybody. I want to go and play like an online matchmaking mode or like similar to Call of Duty, like just jump in a lobby. And
I
if
think
there's
I think
good
I got
statistics and
I
metrics
think I
around
got
it.
2 hours in. There were certain nights I was feeling violent, so
Yeah,
just
there's
decided to get
no
in.
some kind of really good ranking system in there would be nice. Like you've got the wager functionality, but like if you play this game as much as I have like insane amount of hours. Like that, the coins at
A
some point
zillion
just don't
coins.
matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter. There's no. I mean, I just like playing because it's easy. I hop on
Right.
and go, and like I
Mhm.
love playing societies too. But sometimes I just I don't want to play that way. Um, I agree with you in terms of what I think the goals are for this game. I think from a marketing perspective, what I would like to see, and I wonder if they're sharing with a tour about, is like doing more integration around tour stops and really getting people on the game. Like streaming on Twitch is so easy.
Mhm.
Getting either sort of a pro am style, get a couple of big influencers playing with Colin, playing with Tiger, Rory, whoever, and streaming the game. Like I think that exposure will be really big. Again, the prize game comes out end of October. They do have a nice window, but you're going to get into like November, December, and it's like a lot of big AAAs are coming out at that point, and attention's getting split. So beyond the initial marketing push, you'll see where all the big influencers will play. Like getting further retention beyond that is going to be super key.
Do you
And
feel?
obviously, you got the EA game coming out at some point.
hmm
Mhm.
Do you feel like bigger land tournaments might even be something that could boost the game? Something similar to what you've seen with the boost in recently Apex and Call of Duty, where the focus on these land tournaments and seeing the head-to-head perspective, you could almost run it like a PGA style, where Thursday people, you know, one day they play the first 2 rounds, the following day they play the final 2 rounds, and you could have final pairings. Do you see that as something that could grow the game in the future?
Yeah, the issue is like, when I was an esports engine, and I obviously got a lot of knowledge on the broadcast side, like
Mm-hmm.
without a real spectator client and like built-in replay,
Mm-hmm.
we're talking like 68 people, 72 people, even 48. Grabbing all of those sources and being able to do like when you watch professional golf, right?
Mm-hmm.
They cheat a little bit with live on there, and they get away with it because they have all these cameras. They pull them into replay. They have producers that can sit there and go through the replay and work with the director and the lead producer on actually how to lay everything out and pull the sources. Actually, very expensive and much harder. So
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I think lands would be great. We'll love to see them tied into. I think like getting small. I think you start with smaller invitationals that you do out of hospitality tents at some of these tour events where you can get the 24 people sitting there. I think that's easy. I think figuring out a way to really like get that critical mass where you can do it outside of sort of the weekend of when golf's in town at sort of a dream hack or maybe sort of standalone events, I think would be really cool. I just don't know if that's around 2K's thinking right now, right? Like their only other kind of esport they're currently in is NBA
Mm-hmm.
2K. They spent a lot of money up front on that. It's now become a little bit more of a traveling roadshow. It's been a little bit more scaled down, and they've really struggled with the retention on that. Um, I have a lot of other thoughts about sports and esports, but I think like the easiest thing for them, just in general, like what is a good entry point if we're doing esports adjacent content, is really nailing a good pro am stuff where you like can have the gameplay, but really play up like the chemistry of the people playing. You got some very charismatic people out in Twitch world that love this game, right? I mentioned Nate Shot earlier. Doctor Disrespect is a huge fan of this game. Like
Mm-hmm.
there are guys that definitely love this game, don't play as much on stream, but we'll get out there if they're able to play with. Again, I'm sure Tiger probably will play this game. We've all seen how much Tiger loves video games. He talks about how much he loves
Mhm.
Call of Duty. Like Tiger, Rory, Colin, obviously Max Homa plays a lot of video games. John Rahm in particular has talked about how much he loves Call of Duty, and actually the CDL Call of Duty League. I'm sure he may give this game a spin. So like finding that pro am sort of attachment, I think is a good step, and you can build that no bigger esport.
Yeah, getting the right people and right promotion in the game is critical. Like they have when they did their promotions initially, they just had the wrong influencers involved. Like they had people like Co Carnage, who is a massive following on Twitch and everything, but does he really care longevity about Divot Derby and PGA Tour 2K21? Getting a guy like Nade Shot who actually golfs in real life, right? Who has a big following and maybe would care more about the game. Like that was a perfect sign for their initial trailer to have
Mm-hmm.
him in that. So I mean, I mean, I don't know how much his involvement will be if he's going to do any promotions with it, but you know, get one of those type of people and, have them do multiple promotion events and be actually invested in a game that they care about rather than, a handful of just top people because they have followers, I think is the right direction. I have confidence that the 2K23 people are going to do it much different than how it was done with 2K21.
Yeah, I mean, if they're talking about smart marketing spend, like I would say Nate, Shad, aka Matt, is like probably if anyone knows more about this than probably I do, he does obviously because he runs a massive esports org. They're in multiple games. Like beyond that, prior to him even owning an org, like he was a mastery of the YouTube and Twitch world. So like I agree, like targeting your what happens with these game releases, right? Is these marketing influencer departments just kind of spray all this money to the big streamers because they're looking to be the number one, number two game on Twitch with these on the category and giving people 1 or 2 hour, 3 hour pay. But it turns out when they did that, they serviced a lot of people that actually will probably play this game for more than just beyond that initial marketing spend. So figuring out who those are, identifying them, and like getting the cake they make content together, right? Like it'd be really good content to see. I don't know, Nate and Dr. Disrespect assemble teams, and there's a couple thousand on the line, maybe for charity. It's a little bit of side bets. Like it worked. Yes, that format works great in regular golf. We saw it with like the match and all that. It'll work just as well digitally because there's the emotions there with those folks. Like they definitely had the rivalry. They'll play into it. Like that's a smart use of that money, and also getting exposure of the game to people that may not necessarily have known or seen that.
And you know, getting one of those type of influencers into a program or a community like TGC Tours, like you already play that. Do you think TGC Tours has the chance to have like a major implosion in 2K23? I assume they're already working with the devs on the API integration because they've done a great job with 19 and 21. I feel like they've put together such a great online platform that's easy to use, that anyone across all different you know consoles can play, and it's a great way to kind of play casually and competitively at the same time, and it's always showcasing new courses too.
Yeah, I think it's about. I think to really what TDC probably needs to get to that next step is probably some capital to really do some extra stuff beyond just being an API hook and running their own tournaments. Like
Hmm.
being able to go out and do that live would be really cool,
Right.
but that requires obviously support to cover people's travel and accommodations, like production crew. Like having worked on the esports production side, like that is obviously expensive. It's gotten even more expensive, post pandemic due to inflationary costs and a bunch of other stuff. That's what it needs. I think it needs investment from someone. Obviously, it'd be really nice if 2K as the publisher is really willing to get in on that. That'll be convenient. But if someone else wants to get involved, the PGA Tour, obviously Live Golf, if someone wants to seize an opportunity here to get involved, like I think it could blow up. Yeah, I mean for sure. It needs a really good business plan and some additional cash to really do some ambitious things.
You think we need like a bigger rivalry or a scandal? So, Call of
Scandal.
Duty normally has those rivalries.
And that's going to be hot. That's going to be hard because those rivalries are built over. That's like in general. You look at COD compared to other esports, and like some of that stuff is just really deep rooted in old school, like from 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. And other esports are trying to mimic that, but it's just really hard to match that intensity. Um, I just think golf's always difficult with the rivalry stuff because it always feels like the rivalry stuff is always a little bit more muted. Like the only thing I can think of recently that was like kind of with that edge was the whole like Bryson versus Brooks thing. But even then, like people kind of didn't want that to go away a little bit because it was taken away from the sport. Like golf doesn't, golf's traditionally got this like element of respect,
Yeah.
sort of
Mm.
undercurrent to it. So I don't know if the sport. I mean, it could, but traditionally the sport doesn't have that. Whereas with COD, it's like anything goes.
That's
Um,
I
but
mean
yeah,
I know a small Finnish man that I know is taking horse tranquilizers, and eventually
damn.
when we come to blows, I'm gonna punt him so far. But I'm just looking into the future to see like how could we maximize. So there might be a time to where you got the inside scoop on that. You can
Yeah, there you go.
add that in there, that you knew that this was coming, and we when we test Hemo, he's gonna know about it.
Well, listen, but I think what TGC needs, one is obviously figuring out how to get some people to get more involved that definitely have large or followings. Like
Mhm.
again, you need to find it's
Yeah.
gonna be hard to find your like Nate Shots or Wisconsin, we use a COD analogy, or your Bergsons if we're gonna pick League of Legends or pick any esport, your massive influencers. Like the player base is a little bit smaller on PGA, so I think the route is less homegrown and more like getting again someone like Nate Shaw, who, I know Matt pretty well. Like when he's not playing video games or running his business, that guy's on the golf course. Like
Mhm.
figuring out how to take that love and apply it to the digital game, and how you can how you get him more involved. Like that will open a lot of doors. I think not just from a marketing perspective, but like TDC tours, other competitions that people run that are more competitive um, and around the
Mhm.
game and its ecosystem.
Excited for Topgolf and all. I feel like this is just like a random arcade mode. Like I can't see it being long lasting, but maybe this in combination with Divot Derby and all, like ideally, the old Tiger Woods games, right? They had like trick shot challenges, they had battle golf, they had bingo, bango, bongo, right? You add them all together, and then, okay, yeah, you have a group of 4 or 5 guys. Like every Friday night, you can play a different group of games. You know what I mean? It's not the same. Okay, I'm playing Top Golf Las Vegas for the 300th time in a row. You know what I mean? So is that kind of how you're viewing Top Golf?
Well, Divot Derby made me worse at the game, so I don't
Yeah,
play that anymore because
exactly. Same here.
I feel like it screwed my tempo apart. Although it was entertaining to play a bit in the beginning. I don't know. I see top like in my terms of routine. Like I think if my friends and I are about to play a foursome, like we just hop on Top Golf before and just use that as
Mhm.
our like warm up. For me, I like talk to my chat and like just kick around. Obviously, on like real Top Golf, I can't go get a beer or any
Mhm.
one of the 99 appetizers they have on their menu that are pretty good, or watch, sit there on that comfy couch and watch sports at the same time. But it's sort of a similar experience. If it's like replacing the training mode in the game, that might actually be really smart. Um, so if that's sort of the thought process, then yeah, if it's an
Yeah.
arcadey thing too, I think that's okay. It's gonna be like a bit to your point. Like I definitely think it's a bit of a novelty, but um, I see why they've done it right. There again, that awareness, and I wonder if there's a little bit of a marketing piece on the Top Golf side that you're going to see at Top Golfs or with their related work that they do. Um, and again, I figure maybe some of it is just trying to get an edge again on EA, right? They're coming out with a new 2K game before the first
Mhm.
iteration of the EA game. They're trying to line up some of the adjacent sort of golf properties in and around the golf world, and I'm sure Top Golf is obviously looking to diversify their product, right? Like you've seen it now with the fancy Top Golf they built out in El Segundo, where they actually attached it to like an N hole as well. So they're really trying to mix their whole thing up. So I think it's cool. I don't know if
Yeah.
it's like a mainstay, I'm going to play it every day feature, but I think we should tip that
Yeah.
they're thinking outside the box there.
I think the marketing kind of it parlays with that, and then like you see Jordan in the game, right? So like you also see Shooter McGavin in
Yeah.
one of the promotional trailers. You have to wonder if there's going to be like, oh, every month there's a new skin. Like month two, you can buy Happy Gilmore for $10 and his swing animation or something like that. Like I wonder if they're going to try the Fortnite route. Obviously, that's been proven extremely successful. It's transitioned over to COD. It's transitioned to Apex. It's transitioned to all sorts of games to, buy that stuff that's all cosmetic. That doesn't really affect gameplay, but
Yeah.
people like that. So it could drive, the marketing campaign, and I think that's a great thing for the game. And I personally, I can't see myself buying stuff left and right, but that might be definitely a marketing strategy that they take.
Yeah, the cosmetic thing's interesting. I play a lot of Fall Guys. That game's also definitely into
Mm-hmm.
some of the
Yep.
crossovers. What I would also say though is beyond the cosmetic stuff, and this is where like I'm gonna use Halo as a good example, right? New
Mm-hmm.
Halo game launched, got a lot of positive review, but it's the player base has tailed off because they haven't really refreshed the main content maps.
Yeah.
I think for the new PGA game, what I would love to understand is do they have a really robust roadmap of pumping new official courses in the game? Obviously, I love the unofficial courses, the community around 2K, and the ability to make fancy courses, lidar courses. Like it's awesome.
Mhm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
but like if we can get like every year get the majors in, if we can get Augusta in the game, like those are anchor courses that they can go out and market and obviously bring the people in the game. But play like real life versions of those are sanctioned. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
that
Heck,
would be
even
really
just
cool. Yeah.
leverage the community, the B101s,
Yeah.
the Canucks, or the Craig Levasseurs or Arctic Furies, right?
Yeah,
That just
CLV.
create these that fantastic courses. And even in Craig Lavasso's case, like he's mainly known for his recreations, right? Like,
Hmm.
hey, Craig, do you mind giving Pebble Beach a go? Like,
I
I think
mean,
he's gonna have fun with that.
even if there
You know,
was like a course with no name that he'd be able to name, it could transition to something that could be something that looks like Augusta. So I guess that kind of leads me, and this will be the final question from me, would be, do you think the course designer is more important for 2K success, or having the rights to the official courses is going to tip it to EA's golf success?
Here, I'll tell you, I it's so so it depends because I don't actually know how the player base is split. Like if a lot of people are playing career mode and matchmaking, then they're not going to ever really play a lot of those unofficial courses. So the
Mm-hmm.
licensing is super important. One thing I'm very curious in the 2K and EA race, and adjacently in sort of the home sort of product races, as people start to build better technology for home simulators, there's going to be definitely a convergence between those products and probably either this property or the EA property. Right. I think it was TGC2 had a really good integration with one of the Sims, and actually a lot of people's Sims are based off of TGC game, and that's kind of a feature that's been missed. My friend Ray's got a sim set up at home, and like he loves PGA 2K21, but he can't really tie it into sim. I
right.
think eventually figure out that convergence timed with whoever makes a really good affordable home simulator setup is going to like make massive bank, because you're going to then be able to tie in those official licensed courses and all the unofficial courses. So that's a long-winded way of saying, um, I think the official thing is probably more important, but they should not neglect what is a very good custom course creator and that community that is really kind of kept the game going with really fresh content every single week, right? You go on
Mm-hmm.
Reddit, you go on the TDC forums, and there's constantly new courses, either again, fancy courses, totally made up stuff, or like someone made some crazy LiDAR version of like Bandon Dunes, or again, today I was playing a course that I played recently, like a month or two ago, Cougar Point of Key. Well, it's not like the main Kiwa course. It's one of the side courses.
Hmm.
It's not the ocean course. But someone made a really good adaptation of it. Like, having that robust course creator, I think, is really key for the community.
So I just want to go on record. 2K and EA,
Yeah.
Ben Nissim and the Red Fast Review. This is our early patent for you to make a game with a sim, and we get 10% of that.
Oh,
So
100%.
Yeah,
That's some good
there you
cash
go.
for
just
us.
making
Yeah.
sure it is on record.
I can upgrade my apartment here and actually get like a bedroom just for a simulator. I'd be
I was
a
gonna.
big chunk. But yeah,
I don't have to be
that's
in
a
darkness, so.
yeah. Someone's gonna figure that out, right? Like you've seen how popular Golf Plus on Oculus is super
Mm-hmm.
popular now. I don't know if you
Mm-hmm.
guys have
Yeah.
seen like, especially on social media,
Putty.
like on TikTok, those
Mm-hmm.
clips absolutely bang. Like people love that product. And the Oculus is very affordable, but like I'm sure someone's gonna want to be like, that's cool, but like you don't get the weight, right? You swing the Golf Plus or the stick, it doesn't have that
Yeah.
real club feel. Like actually being able to use my clubs and play that digital version, I think is like going to be super key. That's like even, and you could tell that like the thought process is going there, right? Like you guys probably saw today. Obviously, there was a lot of PGA announcements, but one in particular was the Tomorrow Golf stuff with Rory and Tiger. Like they're
Hmm.
thinking around the same stuff of like how does digital golf kind of factor in the future of the industry? Like that's from the video game perspective. I think it's gonna be a big key part of that.
Absolutely. And I'll get one last question in here before we wrap up. Is, I guess, the player archetypes are obviously a big component in the major customizations. A lot of people are really looking forward to this, and I think in B101's video today that we saw, he outlined that, it's going to be a large dispersion of different shots. Like not everyone's going to have your standard stock 295 driver. It's, someone going to, there's going to be wide dispersions on those shots too. It's going to be very difficult to hit perfect. So it's going to parlay that into the course designer mode because they can really create good designs. I guess the player archetype tree, do you see this like being a critic, like is this something, one of the major components that you see the public drawing to, or is it mainly just because Tiger's on the cover that they're going to be buying the new game?
I think that's a great question. The my player progressions, obviously, I think ever since this became not the golf club, I think that was just we all probably knew that that was going to go in that direction eventually. I don't know if that's like a big selling point to the average person, just because like if you think logically, it just means you guys think more time in the game to get better. Um, and for competitive players, I have a lot of knock-on questions about how this is going to affect sort of the higher level end game part of play. I think the Tiger integration, to me, actually the biggest thing, if you like read on the internet and for people perception, the biggest thing that they requested from 2K21 is being able to play as pros. Like I don't know if you guys have seen the 89 million threads that I see consistently on Reddit of like, I am tired of being beaten by Justin Thomas. I want to play as Justin Thomas. And so like, you know, as PGA Tour and these professional players start to recognize how important brands are, like I think that's a bigger selling point than, you know, being able to sort of progress a character and unlock stuff and have archetype and badges. Like as cool as that is, I don't think for the average person that's as big of a hook as it is.
Hopefully you can at least watch Justin Thomas beat you if he's going to be the one that beats you every time, right? Like at least that's what it looks like they might be advertising. You're playing alongside around with somebody. Like that'd be cool. Like you get to see his shots. Maybe you're, even if it's a match play or something, right? Like it's just you and Thomas or you and Woods, Morikawa. Like, you know, even, you know, think about, you know, to unlock the characters or something like the old Mario Golf on N64 days to get to Bowser or whatever the one was, you had to beat, you know, like start with Morikawa, then you get to Zally, then you get to Justin Thomas or whatever, and then finally the final boss is obviously Tiger or something.
Well, they even did it in the Tiger. It was like that in like 04 Tiger, where you had to start out with like Gramps at Highlands, and then you progressed all the way through to finally get to Tiger at Pebble.
Yeah, BJ Holmes.
Just know if Max Homa is in the game and I'm beating him in a tournament, he's getting tripped on Twitter. Just know that.
Well, hey, Bear, you got any last ones?
Plug your socials. Let's get it all out there.
Ben J. Nissim at Ben J. Nissim on Twitter, correct?
Yeah, that's my Twitter. Ben_Nissim on Twitch. I do a lot of, again, I play a lot of PGA games, but as we get to running here, keep to play sports games. Obviously, I'm a huge Call of Duty streamer, so Call of Duty cycle starting up again. We'll also do other esports. I'm starting kind of an interview series on my YouTube as well, which if you check out my Twitter, I have a link tree and you can check out the link to my YouTube channel. We're gonna be doing one of the things I want to do. I'm doing an interview series. Obviously, this
is in the post. I'm gonna put all the links right here. Yeah.
Always circle that on my YouTube. One thing I'm trying to do actually is I'm doing an interview series where I'm trying to pull the curtain back on a lot of people that are involved with esports and gaming that don't necessarily get talked about, like behind the scenes people that are super important, whether it's from a marketing perspective, partnerships and sales, because a lot of people don't know how that side of the business works, or just in general comp ops and just sort of production. Like I'm gonna be doing a lot of interviews over the next 2 months with some of those folks. So if y'all are interested, stay tuned to my YouTube. We'll be posting those very shortly.
Very cool.
Watch all the way through, comment,
boost the
algorithm, boost the algorithm.
At the very least, as Bear always says, click on a video, leave it up in the background, and watch it all the way through.
I absolutely love that.
Exactly. We could cheat the system.
Ben. No problem.
Thank you very much.